What's up, man?
What's going on, dude? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. It's
That's
just
right.
funny because it took me like 10 years to get this camera going.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm like relieved that it's actually happening because I'm pretty sure it's going to be more time of me messing with the cameras than it was us making this episode. But it's okay.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
chill now. I'm cool.
I'm glad that that's out of the way, but I mean, what is it that, from your perspective, outside of, I know getting the tech going, it was an obstacle, but outside of that, what is it that you'd like to, highlight for, what's important to you today? What do you want to highlight?
I think I want to talk about the thing that you were pitching to us, which is the disc assessment, because I think that's important. So we took it. I took mine. You took yours. I'm interested to see what you got. I got mine right here.
Do you
What
have?
did you get? What did you get on that, by the way?
I could tell you what it said, but before I do, I mean, do you happen to remember the quadrants? Maybe that'd be easier for.
On the picture that I screenshot, it'll say what you are right above the pie chart.
Right above the pie chart, yeah.
Oh, I can see it. What does it say?
Mine shows an assessor.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Yeah, so it's showing that the motivations are for myself, individual expression, and the ability to turn into something artistic and tangible. You may be you may be caring, friendly, and comfortable with expressing your thoughts and your emotions. As a perfectionist, you may isolate yourself to get the job done. You get energized by new and exciting things. There's three other things here, like
We'll go one at a time. You said earlier that, you made a comment on my comment about it being like a horoscope or something like that.
Yeah.
And you were kind of alluding to something. When I said that, what kind of hit your ear? What were you thinking about?
Well, it just, what I think of horoscopes is like the likelihood of you being a person. Because, for example, I'm gonna use something bombastic like a Scorpio. They're they have a high sex drive, or that's what the horoscope would say. Do I feel like that is accurate? It could be. It could be. It could be circumstantial, but at the same time, could it just be just winging it? Who knows? Everybody's different, and that just a horoscope doesn't tell you the full picture, but you might see yourself in something that does translate through a horoscope.
Do you think that best describes you? I guess I should say.
I don't know, dude. I mean, there was some things that were on here that I was like, yeah, that seems like more around how I feel lately. Mm-hmm. So could what I'm going through lately have influenced the decisions that I put on the questions that were there? Yeah, and maybe that did translate to this giving me an accurate picture of who I am today. But do I feel like that's who I am? No, I might have a totally different perspective of who I am versus what this thing is telling me that I'm about. So I mean, yeah, I mean, what does yours say as the archetype?
Oh, it says motivator, and the 2-letter descriptor is a DI. See if I can zoom in here, make it easier for me.
Okay, it's the combination. The D stands for.
I don't remember, dude. To be honest with you,
you can pull it up real quick. I think that's the like a decision maker, or the not decision maker, but I don't even want to guess. I just want to make sure that we have the quadrants, because those will make this easier.
Dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness.
Okay, so yours is a combo of a dominant and a what?
The I, which is influence.
And so mine is an IC, an influence, and a conscientiousness. So an assessor is what the subcategory of that would be. And outside of the two archetypes that you fall under, what is the subcategory, or what is the title that it gave you? Motivational?
Motivator.
Motivation? Okay, motivator.
Yeah, and it says motivated by taking a creative idea and making it serve a practical purpose. You may have a unique ability to harness other strengths to obtain goals. You can be motivated by challenging work that employs your problem-solving skills. You may be driven by prestige and recognition. Horoscope. But it's like either it's like so accurate that I think anybody could apply, and like my perception of reality is off, or maybe it is closely related, because I feel like all that stuff is me.
So have you had a chance to look into like what individual category means and like what that could mean to you overall. Because the way that this test was designed, it's saying that you share different qualities as well as giving you like more of a title kind of a thing. The way that I understood the DISC assessment was you're either a what's the D stands for again?
I think
A
it's
dominant. You're either a dominant or you're an
dominance,
intellectual, or I'm
influence.
sorry, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's like the fact that it combines them is just more interesting to me. And it's nice to know that it's multifaceted. It's not just like you're this, you're that. It's nice to know that you share different commonalities
with other people. Okay, you want to go through the other stuff because it says motivated by, likes, dislikes, can be.
Yeah, likes, recognition of a job well done. So I do agree with that. Like being told to get acknowledgement is important to me, I suppose. Let me get back up.
To everybody probably, but this is probably especially more so.
Yeah, I mean, so it continues. You may be confident, competitive, and extroverted. You likely have the ability to adapt to your environment and the people around you, while also having control over what is happening. You may tend to strive for perfection. I'm going to go over all the last two. Dislikes, high pressure that creates feelings of restlessness. High pressure that creates feelings of restlessness. You may be fearful of losing or looking bad. Damn. All right.
Me. That's what you wanted to say.
So you likely don't enjoy disciplining or punishing others. You can tire. Damn. So you can tire of routine and of structure, everyday operations, preferring to focus on big picture. The can be. A great person to take initiative in times of change. May have a natural desire of connecting and building, collaborating around common goals. You can thrive by sharing facts and data with others to gain their buy-in and ensure accuracy, which is also likely important to you. So before I even talk about how I felt about that, let's jump into yours. My opinion was loud on one of them.
Yeah. I saw it in the segue too, before I forget. I do feel like that's you. I do feel like it's a little bit of me too in that. But I'm like, yeah, but if I were to have to pick between you or me in that, it'd be overwhelmingly more you in that for sure. So I'm like, wait, maybe, and this is why I wanted to say it out loud and compare it and not do this off camera because I wanted to see how accurate this thing actually is. And this thing kind of spitting right now, I ain't gonna lie. But we'll talk about it like you said. So mine, the like says, a direct approach. I like a direct approach. You probably plan ahead and are versatile and eager. You tend to act positively both socially and when in competition. You likely prefer one-on-one conversations, new challenges, and expanding your knowledge and skills. Those are the likes.
Sounds interesting.
Interesting. Wow. Let me see. And then the other one is, I have to zoom in here because it's like not letting me see. The dislikes, having to spend a lot of time on detail, as this can lead to the feelings of impatience. True. You may dislike working in environments that aren't focused on driving results. True. You might prefer to avoid getting involved in teammates' personal conflicts. We'll say opinions after that, right? So the can be section is the ideal person to call in a time of crisis. You likely thrive when given the freedom to lead and express yourself. You enjoy being asked for more. Growth can occur when you create an environment in which you understand your teammates better.
That's so interesting, man. I like what I'm hearing. That's all I got to say about that.
It's crazy, huh?
That's crazy work. I mean, talk about what you're hearing here, and I'm going to chime in on a little. Matter of fact, before talk about it, what I took from that was that you don't like having static when talking to people. Like in group settings, we much rather talk to an individual rather than be in a situation where it's static. And it kind of reminded me of when we started the other group, and I was pitching. I was like, man, free flowing converse. He's like, how about no on that one?
Yeah, it's like, oh, that gives me anxiety just thinking about it. But then, by the way, I did want to bring that up too. I was going to bring it up off camera, but everything's getting lost in all these more important stuff we have to do. But it was just maybe we can still do that because that's important, but maybe we stick that at the end or something like that. That's something for us to, I guess, discuss later. But yeah, you're right. That's exactly right.
So, other than that, I mean, what is it about what you're hearing on here that you may agree with, may not agree with?
I think it was just that part. You might prefer to avoid getting involved in teammates' personal conflicts. Maybe reading it again, I'm like, okay, maybe it is more closely aligned to me. Because I guess it is a preference to not get into their conflicts. But I think the reward of helping somebody that's close to me or affects me personally, either or are those categories, I feel like I want to get involved because I want to help. Especially if that person is actually trying to help themselves, then yes. But if they're not trying to help themselves, no. Stay on your side. I'll be over here. You solve it because you don't want to solve it. You quote unquote solve it yourself, even though we know you're not going to. You're not going to do anything about
I mean, I get it. I mean, if it has anything to do with you and you have any kind of way of influencing it in a positive direction, you'll take that decision. Totally get that. I mean, I have a whole bunch of loved ones that I'm like, yo, can we get out of our own way so that way maybe we can kind of build something there? And it's life. Everybody is gonna do what they got to do until they decide, and then until then, I'll just be on the path that I'm designed for or destined for, and then if they want to meet me somewhere, I'll be there. I may not be at the same pace that I was, but I'll still be there.
Yeah. Your thoughts and reserves about your test there?
Yeah. Let me see. I think that a lot of it, especially about me or about being being restless. Don't I feel restless now. There are things that I do even within the confines of my own space or even in my own seat where I might be rocking. Or if you give me more liberty, I might just walk this whole room 12 times. And it's just, I don't know. I'm just that way, designed that way. And I wish I could have more control over that. But that's a nod in this direction saying, hey, there's a truth there.
Would you call that restlessness and maybe anxiety?
I don't feel like I have anxiety on a day to day.
What's your definition of it so I can understand better?
Anxiety to me is overthinking on things that I may or may not have control over. I mean, for example, Father's Day is just passed, and fingers crossed things go the way I'd like to. I should be by December a part of the father clan. I don't have no anxieties about this.
Nice.
There's not a moment of this whole process where I'm like high pressure. I might feel like I'm clueless around experiences, but I'm not having anxiety. So let me probably give it another perspective. Maybe 6 years ago, or maybe 6 or 7 years ago, where I just moved up here, I had a lot of anxiety then, but it was over things that I didn't personally have like an investment in, and I was in like personally attached to, but I had an investment in where I had zero control and didn't know what the situation would turn out to be. That was anxiety. And I'm so far away from that, where it's like I know how I can get there and I know I don't want to take that path. So there's no reason why for me to even invite those opportunities into my life no more. So I don't have anxiety today per se. I do have I don't think stress and anxiety may be the same. I might have like a concern about something that might come up, but it's a concern and it won't like impede on like my personal relations.
Okay.
It's a fleeing concern. Like, okay, I feel that now that moment's passed.
Okay. Yeah, because for me, like how I personally define anxiety, or at least the lens that I think about, things when I think about that word, is the eagerness to get to the next step, like that feeling frequently. Because like anybody can feel like, oh, I'm excited to get to the next step, or I'm worried about getting to the next step. Like let's hurry up and let's just get it out of the way. Like I need to get there. I need to get past this thing. That if you feel that frequently.
Damn, that was like a glass half full. I felt like what you gave was a great example, is what I'm trying to say, of whatever I was feeling on the opposite end. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I looked at it as a glass half empty, where you look at it as a glass half full. Like, I feel like it's just the negative emotions where you're like, it could be positive emotions where I'm like anxious to get to, or like, oh, we're going somewhere, so I can't wait to go. That is an anxiety. That is a eagerness or a willingness. I didn't think of it that way. Damn, I gotta fix that.
It could be that way for negatives too. You're like, oh, I have to take this test.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm going to pass, because you legitimately don't know if you are or not. Yes. But then, like, there's did you study, and how much did you study? And if you studied quite a bit and you're still like, oh, what if I fail? What if this? I'm thinking about it. It's fine to think about it, a little bit relatively. It's hard to say a little bit, a lot of it, and these like untangible, unquantifiable word. But it's more of a hot and cold thing. It's not a temperature thing. It's not like a 70 degrees versus a 90 degrees. It's more like, this is really cold and this is really hot. So it's like, how much of those thoughts do you have? And I try to stay personally away from that super frequent, having those thoughts over and over again, trying to bridge the gap between now and what's about to happen, because that to me is anxiety. So I'm trying to stay away from that, because that's like that being in your seat, like doing everything. I have that too. Even when I'm talking to, I have so many things going on in my mind, and I have to learn to slow down, because that's what we need to do when we're making those calls and talking to people. Just because
his mind is moving at 1,000 miles a minute.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might even trip over your word and what that expresses to the person on the other end. He's new. I can hear the sales breath. I can hear something is not genuine. It feels forced. Yeah. And another thing about the assessment was not wanting to look bad. I think that's my biggest fear as far as social media is concerned. I hate. It's like it gives me, if anything gies me anxiety,
it's this. What we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's
Thank
this.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and it's weird, because it's almost like doing repetition is the only cure for that. Because even with the studying thing, the more, it's almost like a one for one. The more you study, the less anxious you are about it, in a negative way.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that you're not anxious or you're not uncomfortable. It just means that you've took the time to be in an environment where you can learn how to handle that experience or handle that pressure. So just because you study for a test doesn't mean that you're not going to be it doesn't mean that you're not going to be anxious. You're going to be less anxious, more prepared than anxious. So repetition in this regard is being in front of the camera, being able to do this and not be too caught on what I'm feeling, because ultimately I'm going to be hypercritical about myself. And as long as I'm doing the work and coming back and not thinking too much, I'm pretty sure I'll get some reinforcement, whether it's from me feeling better just being in an environment, or from people in the comments or people in the friend or family's group saying, hey, you guys are doing something that's interesting. I'd like to learn more about it, or I'd like to be a part of it, or I'd share it. The reinforcement kind of thing.
Which is wild, because to think of that concept on you.
Oh, shit. Kind of goes back to that. My bad.
It goes to calls, man. It goes to calls. You've heard, like, how many, is it 50-50 that people are nice and people are not nice? People are interested and people are not interested? No, and I feel like you're almost talking about it in a way of like, if I do really well, like in the past, it's like, oh, if I do really well, I'll get some good comments. It's like, no, you could do perfect, and they can all just crap on you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you want to go into that, I feel like a lot of salespeople are so afraid of picking up the phone because we've been pacified by the Zillows of the world, or put a group in, or put a service in, you pay to play kind of service. And it really pacifies the whole real estate experience. I've been doing cold calls since I got into the business. The very first thing, because I didn't have any like big sphere of influence. It's not like I come from like affluence. So everybody that I talked to, everybody that I ran into was either just getting started are already purchased and probably are not grabbing like their second or third asset or anything like that. So I really had to just go door knocking or phone calls. And honestly, if I would have continued to do phone calls from like the very beginning, I'd probably be further or maybe better than where I am today. But since taking those courses and really getting in front of it and taking initiative to do the scripting is like the Bible right now. I mean, you gotta really follow it and really not take it personal when you get that feedback from other people. Just follow the script, remember your cues,